Oh, um, um, uh, I posted a letter to the Australian Federal Police today about the mafia, about I can't remember what else. The reason I can't remember what else was because the computer was hacked again today, so that even most basic things didn't work as required. Um, Sean, though, was sort of doing, probably it's his Japanese side, a bit of a mind probe. I was sitting around thinking of an old baseball coach, or actually the only baseball coach that our team had, who was named Mr. Quinn, and he had if you look at it that way, a sort of more like a North Korean type haircut. Rather than a Chairman Mao haircut or an American sort of baseball haircut, and the you know the Robert Zimmerman, that folk singer, German folk singer, who went electric. Well, one of his big numbers was. When Quinn the Eskimo gets here, everybody's going to run to him. Just a really fabrication. But if that's how I got hooked into paying money to CBS to listen to Robert Zimmerman do a song about the Little League coach. Yeah, you'll never get anywhere if you're into rock music. You'll never get anywhere ever. Same thing if you're a stage actor or an actor, you'll never get anywhere. Even meditar. Well, before I go on to this talk, because I'm going to post it to S-Mares, there's the Maharishi movement, had a Students' International Meditation Society. Now, as with virtually everything that they do, if you look at it in a sort of different way or an oppositional way, what you find is that they target specific people. So, Students' International Meditation Society comes down to the name SINS. Now, I'll explain to you what the government did to trap me and place me in this position. The first thing was they advertised that they were making available for sale houses built by the state government, and they had one house for sale on Scammell Street. So as the mafia had sort of taken over my area, taken over my life, and the death threats were coming left, right, and centre, with the mafia and assorted type individuals, I checked it out and thought, well, this is really a garbage place, but I'll buy it. Now, when I say garbage, the people next door were a married couple, old married couple, big people, big man, and his wife was just as big. And as it turned out, the man of the family looked just like Barbara Bauer's father. And I'm told, or I read somewhere, that Barbara Bauer's father, oh, I heard it actually, he wrote a poem. I think he'd been in the US Army or something. He was a veteran, and he wrote a poem, and she recorded it and made it available. And I listened to it once I found that he had passed away. And it was like a rambling sort of, poem about life and, living in the army or having a daughter named Barbara. And after that, it became impossible to contact Barbara again. And so that was the end of it. But the next door neighbor at Scammell Street, the gentleman, the old man, looked very similar to Barbara Bauer's father. The problem with Scammell Street was it had sort of been arranged by what I think was the mafia. And so I then moved again down to the southeast of the state. And in this way, they got me to spend my money. Down in the southeast of the state, I was okay, I suppose. Nothing much to do. They had this Catholic church there, and it was pretty awful because on a Sunday morning, they'd all go to Mass. They'd pack the church. There'd be no sort of nothing said to give them anything else other than just communion with the Mass. So they looked to be sort of, happy-go-lucky slaves. Then, of course, the US government, or the government at the time of the day, had their man show up. And at that point, I thought, well, I think I'll go overseas now. There's nothing for me here. No one is going to help me. No one's going to buy anything I've written. No one's going to buy any books I've done. And the Chinese Communist Party had not yet made their move, because what happened was I was stalled when I wanted to go overseas. Okay, so I hadn't, last time I saw, well, she's got a good voice. Sarah has got a good voice. A voice that hadn't changed since, the first time I met her virtually, but most likely has changed now. I did a poem or something where one of the lines was "all is lost." I did something called Night Music, and then they stole all copies of the book, printed in Mississippi, and the mafia, Bob Dylan, did that song. It was a Mississippi, not Mississippi, wherever it was, Pittsburgh. It was printed in Pittsburgh. Mafia Man did that song after they stole all copies. So I had no evidence. It was a Pittsburgh. And the government, federal government TV, has a show now using one of the parts called Night Music. They really do like to enslave people. If you follow Paramahansa Yogananda, say his teaching about, every religion, what it boils down to is every religion, and that includes the religion of socialism, enslaves you. Its sole purpose is to a greater or lesser extent enslave you. So I missed the Grammys, but I did see the interview that Mr. Sean Ono gave to somebody, and he's being very casual because he was doing a mind probe, and I was forced to remember Little League Baseball, the catcher, the coach, Mr. Quinn, who was at that stage a pretty old man with a North Korean style haircut. Anyway, and I don't think he even had a social life. But there was that Bob Dylan song, Bob Dylan, the fascist Nazi enslaver. I mean, Robert Zimmerman. Robert Zimmerman, he's never played baseball in his life, and he wouldn't want to, because only bastards and muscle-bound people play baseball. And, you can't really entertain people playing baseball because the only thing you can't really entertain people playing baseball. That's probably why I gave it up. I gave up playing baseball when I saw who was on the university baseball team. And they were big guys. So I thought, well, that's out of my league, 20,000 leagues under the sea, and I'll quit baseball and never have anything to do with baseball again. But then after the state government set this trap, which cost me all my money, because Scammell is an auctioneer on Chapel Street, and they believe that Elvis Presley is the most beautiful, wonderful white man that's ever been alive, who is a Hawaiian guy. He looks like a Hawaiian version of Hitler with longer hair and all that. Okay, so bye. But Sarah's voice, apparently, according to the last, I think 10 years ago, recorded talk where she was interviewed or something, her voice hadn't changed since I met her in 71. She always had a really nice voice. Everybody, I've never met any scholars really in my life, apart from a few. But I'll tell you something, in Switzerland, they really take care of people. They really care about what young people do. They care about how they live and about what types of relationships they have. And so one place I visited in Switzerland, which was, I thought, really good of them, was sort of like a small, I don't know, a room, say, this big, but made out of glass and metal with a roof on it, set somewhere in the mountains. It had electric lights. Oh, I must tell you, they've put electric lights into the Cliff Goodwin Park, where I went the day John Lennon was murdered. What I did, I knew, the mafia was doing it. I got a confession from a local who said he'd arranged to kill him. and went to the Cliff Goodwin Park for a cigarette. And in those days, it didn't have toilets. It didn't have lights, nighttime lights. And so what the council has done is put in toilets, night lights, and there's some tennis courts there, but I went there. The one local doctor there has passed away, and his old office has been completely, like, refurbished and so on. Okay, but Sarah's voice hasn't really changed in all the time. So what I wrote to the federal police was I was saying I was saying sort of more or less what I've done as a booklet, or as to say Professor Jack, or even to maybe Sarah or my doctor even, is that the mafia, once again, the same guys tracked me down and stalked me and did things to me, to prove. Now, they've got a judge. They got a judge. They got, I don't know, other things, even possibly even a law firm. Whereas all they had for baseball was, there was it was a big family, you see, who brought baseball into South Australia, and they were called Treadray, and one of their sort of like main men, who was sort of substantial, was named Warren. And so US Republicans got their man named Warren, Justice Warren, whatever, the high guy, who investigated what happened to JFK. 3 strikes and you're out. He got shot 3 times. Warren's sitting over there. I never met him. But they were saying 3 strikes and you're out. Who was the batsman? Who threw the ball? What was the rest of it? And all that stuff. So this one is for, I don't know, the federal police won't help. I sort of take the attitude I took when I moved here after being overseas, 1976, something called the National Crime Research Unit. And I gave them a short essay about, organized crime taking over my life, due to, I think, apart from the Lone Star State, Elizabeth Lone, before I started playing baseball, about organized crime moving in on me in every way you could imagine. And I did it, for your information, just, take that. And then what happened was the organized crime people placed the police station opposite on Broad Street, and they got Paul McCartney to do a song, Give My Regards to Broad Street. So that's the level that the mafia was involved in taking over my life. And then, of course, there were murder attempts and you name it, they did it. To the extent that one mafia thing involves the largest mining company in Australia, BHP. And, these guys, when you talk about the mafia, there's a baseball family who brought baseball into Australia. But the mafia system in America was they have families, and certain families run certain types of mafia activity. And so what happened is that certain mafia families moved in on me, utilised BHP, the largest miner in Australia, I don't know. And then what are they called? Bob Dylan, that mafia guy, who did the song about the Little League baseball coach, Mr. Quinn, came in and did some more shit. Made him a lot of money, gained world fame, and all that. And then I wrote to one professor, and he, I think, recommended Bob Dylan for a Nobel Prize or something. But he knew that I was doing research into organised crime, and the last time I saw him, I'd given him a paper about details and links here to the killing of JFK, 1963. And so he showed up here and sort of, showed up here. We didn't talk or anything, and and so the plot kept coming. We killed JFK. Our baseball team judged him, Warren Treadrake, and the plot kept going. And so if you want world peace, I'd suggest you introduce baseball to all nations on earth. Like in Africa, it could catch on, or India, and so on. Now, I saw a movie tonight about a guy whose wife has been kidnapped, and that's the story of what happened at when we shared a house, 111A Kensington Road. Since then, they've changed the number to 111. For whatever reason, they want. And the movie was about a guy whose wife is kidnapped by a truck driver, a truckie, and when the money has to be paid to the extortionist, the guy who's playing the part of the husband has to be on the floor doing something as the extortionists want him to do. But in real life, you see, they really know how to turn black into white, white into black, evil into good, good into evil, up into down, down into up, that sort of thing. So when the movie, the guy who was had a gun to his head and was about to be shot because his wife had been kidnapped, succumbed to the mafia. The actual pose in the movie was just 10, 20 seconds when Dave did a Kriya Yoga pose after getting busted and all this stuff. Dave was sort of into show business, and I remembered after thinking about this, that Randall was a funny guy. He bought a van and gave it to me, or loaned it to me, to use to drive up to a place called Nimbin where the students were. And so what I did is let him stay in my bed and my bedroom. And I was away, I think, for maybe 3 weeks. When I got back, the van didn't work at all, and left it where the last place I'd seen Dave, which was up at Unley High School area. And I got no idea what happened, but I did ask Randall if he wanted to live in a house in Unley Park, number 9. I explained that an elderly spinster, Miss Darling, had just died, and the Beatles had done a song about it. They wanted to capture her soul when she died and take her soul to hell with them. And so Miss Darling died, and she lived next door to school teacher Glenn Woodward, and her sort of mansion was the cheapest house or property rental available. I think it was like $30 a week for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bedrooms. And so we rented it. And what happened was dopers stayed there. Randall was a bit of a doper, and so was the education minister's niece. Real slack female doper. Had she even finished high school? I know Randall hadn't finished high school, and so I helped him finish high school. But man, that was a funny scene. I went to the house maybe 10, 15 years ago, and they still had a sign outside saying this is being reconstructed. This house is under construction. And Miss Darling, well, she died, and that was that. But that was seemingly where you were at. I got those ideas for movies, Nightmare on Elm Street, as Elm Street was directly opposite the house. And you could walk down Elm Street to Northgate Street, then to past Bulimia Street, and the British would then use that house name as the disease that Princess Diana had, bulimia, when they were planning to assassinate her. And that's just the way it is, because the media, well, anyway, I won't say more. I'd suggest that, I would have suggested that baseball should be introduced into Britain too, but I'm sure it already has been, and into Europe and various other places. So that's the end of that. Jay Soham, Jay Jagat. I would make this longer and give it to Sarah, but she hasn't replied, and she never does because her shoes are, and she never does. Plus, Paul McCartney, took her sister Helen, and so when Helen dies, the Paul McCartney effect will be to take her to hell with him. Paul McCartney, if you're interested in the modern science of mental health, he's the Black Panther in the book, The Modern Science of Mental Health. And if you want to know what the Black Panther is there for, or if you want to know about the Pink Panther, etc., you could really waste your time. You could become a fan of them. You could spend the rest of your life doing nothing more than waiting for the Black Panther to pounce or the Pink Panther to pounce. Okay, so so that's about all. Sean, that's very good. It was nice to see that. I'll get back to you, but they took the phone number. They took it one day. I then looked it up. It's real easy to look it up. It's on some, address, wrote it down, and then someone came in that day when I was out or something and took that phone number as well. You know, I mean, you're talking, I suppose, Looney Tunes, Looney Tunes, and how dangerous are they? Are they cold-blooded killers capable of, explosions, bombs, mass murder, gas oil, anything they're capable of? Okay. So, what was I saying? Oh, the phone number. I'll look it up when I turn this off. You could do it too. Okay. Thank you and good night.